Welcome everybody to the Striker Texas. This is the extra time of the Striker Tejas. It's a pleasure to have everybody here. The Striker Texas is a news platform that covers all levels of soccer in our state. It's the state that we love in the sport that we love in the state that we call home. So today we're going to be talking a little bit more about our biggest passion, which is USL. And for that, I would like to invite Edson Ochoa, who is our reporter covering RGV totals and a member of our podcast on a weekly basis. Welcome, Edson.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? Greetings from the magical Rio Grande Valley. It's a pleasure to be in this episode, and of course, it is an honor to present this week's guest for the Striker Tejas. He's a player that has so much history in American soccer as well as Liga MX, in USL, even MLS, and it's a pleasure to have him with the Toros this season. And I'm speaking about none other than RGVFC midfielder Rodrigo Lopez. Rodrigo, how are you doing?
Hey guys, how you guys doing? Thanks for having me. Just getting done training, finally home, and happy to be on with you guys.
Very cool. Rodrigo, tell me, what an amazing beginning of season you guys had. We've been talking week after week how great the start of the season was for RGV. What can you tell about that good moment that you guys had?
It's been an up and down season for us. We're still trying to, be a more of a consistent team. I think that's been our biggest downfall this year. Obviously, we had a great start of the season. Not many teams thought much of us at the beginning, and now you could see that teams are respecting us more. Teams are adjusting to the way we want to play, and and it's been tough. This league has came along a long way from when I played back in 2014-15. So it's a much higher, more competitive league, and there's plenty of good teams, especially in our division. I think our division's probably the strongest in the USL at the moment, and you don't face a weak opponent, so we have to be ready every game, and hopefully we could finish out the season, these last 12 games, the best way possible to make playoffs, which is our main focus at the moment.
So Edson, we got another vote saying that the Mountain Division is the strongest one. We've been doing that around the league overall, and a lot of people really think that Rodrigo, that we got either fortunate enough to have the strongest division or not, right?
Mhm.
But again, tell me a little bit about your story. It's such a cool story when we look and see your all that you have done.
Yeah, I feel like I could write a book about my career. It's kind of the way that our season's going right now. It's been an up and down career. But I wouldn't change it for the world, for anything in the world. I've suffered. I've been to the point where I wanted to retire when I was 26, and all of a sudden I have my first son, and I think that's what changed my life. It changed my whole mentality of being, an athlete, an elite athlete, because I was always there. I was always, one of the younger ones, playing MLS and stuff, and I feel like sometimes I took it for granted. And as you mature and as you grow as a player, you start learning things. Sometimes, it takes some longer than others. Um, and one thing I do wish is that I would have learned a little bit earlier, maybe when I was younger, but that's the way my life is written, and the way it went. And like I said, I wouldn't change it for anything. I've gone through so much, ups and downs, that it's made me a better person. It's made me a stronger person, and yeah, that's kind of the way my career's been. I was able to make my MLS debut when I was 18, which is pretty young. And then I always had that dream to go play in Mexico in Liga MX. And after a good 2014-15 season with Sacramento, I had a lot of offers to go MLS. some to go, across the seas. Um, and I had obviously Mexico, and Mexico was my number one target, because at that point I knew that I could make it happen with hard work and dedication, and with my ability, obviously, and I went for it, and I made my debut with Toluca at age 30. So, not many could say that. Not many could say that after, especially in Mexico, after you're 24, 25, and you haven't made your debut, there's a very small percentage that you'll actually get minutes with the first team. So I'm very fortunate to have done that, and to pursued my dream to play in Mexico, and now I'm back here, making the best out of it.
So I wanted to get you were born in Guadalajara, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
You moved at an early age to the United States, to Santa Barbara, to be exact. How was your childhood growing up in California, as someone who had come in from Mexico? And what made you want to pursue a career in soccer?
I always had the best of both worlds. Santa Barbara is a very, very beautiful place. I was very fortunate to have grown up in Santa Barbara. But at the same time, my family wasn't, you know, we were on, my parents were working parents, and, both my parents worked two jobs, and my dad worked a hard job, and my mom worked two jobs. So, they all they did was work, and it was basically to keep my career going. I was always traveling with my club teams, and I was fortunate to be on the state team, California state team, when I was young. So we did a lot of trips, not just in the US, but we went to Brazil, England, and I remember my mom always working extra hard, working extra time to get me to be able to experience those things, at an early age. So, I was very fortunate to have parents that work so hard. Um, and also, I was able to every summer go to Mexico and spend my summers in Mexico with my grandma and my family, my cousins, my best friend who lives out there. So, I also got to taste the whole Mexican culture, where you're outside playing soccer until your grandma's out there screaming, "Hey, get inside, it's late." Um,
Until somebody breaks a
so
leg or the ball or the
yeah, yeah,
ball or
yeah. Or you break a
lose the ball.
window. Yeah.
Or you accidentally hit the person that's walking by the street, and the guy gets all mad.
Yeah,
It's happened
yeah.
to me.
Yeah, the doña, not the man, but the lady, the old lady, hit the old lady. So it's done, game over. But I experienced that, and like I said, I'm very fortunate of that as well, because that type of stuff teaches you different part of the game, different side of the game, and so yeah, that's those are my early days, and I got the game from my dad. My dad played, professionally, second division in Mexico as well. So that's where I get it from.
What team did he
Rodrigo,
play in the second division?
He played for UDG and Atlas.
Ah,
very
nice.
Yeah,
cool, very cool.
yeah,
So Rodrigo, one of the things that we discuss a lot in the newsroom, and we've been trying to find stories about that, and we already had some on the Striker Texas over the past few months, is the biggest challenge of people like you that has the double nationality, right? And making that tough decision while you're still a young, where should I play? Should I be a national player to US, and should I be a national player to Mexico? And you ended up, although if, I feel like you had stronger ties to Mexico, you ended up playing on the youth national team for the US, right? How was that
yeah.
choice?
Um, I was at Chivas when this opportunity came to me. I was with Chivas in Mexico with the reserves, and at that point, I had the option to come back to MLS with Chivas USA the first year of existence. Um, and that's when I got the call from Bob. I believe it was Bob Jenkins from the U18 national team, inviting me to a camp with the US. So it just kind of all came together, and I had to come home, and finish high school in order to sign MLS at that point. And I did. I finished high school. I signed with Chivas USA, and then that's when I got my first call up with the U.S. national team. Um, but I don't know. I don't know if you guys read the article on the goalie from, is it Salt Lake Chavez? Is it Chavez? No.
I think it was that Ochoa as well?
Ochoa,
Yeah.
sorry, Ochoa. I don't know if you guys read his story, but I was reading it, and it's funny because I didn't even know he grew up in Oxnard, California. Oxnard, California is where my wife's from, or where she grew up. Sorry. And his story is very interesting and very similar to mine. He goes to Mexico to Chivas, and he's treated different. He's treated like an American, like a gringo.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes you go through bullying, and I remember I went through it so bad, and to the point sometimes where I wanted to come home, and I just wanted to give up because it wasn't fun. Sometimes I felt like it was like I was being treated differently, and it took a while to adjust, but those are the hard things that I went through, and that I told you that I honestly don't I wouldn't want to change anything in the world. My career went the way it went because that's the way I chose it, and that's the way it went. But you have to suffer in order to realize, what you have to do in order to be successful. So, back to your question about being on the national team, it was the first opportunity I had to play for a national team, and I took it because I'm very grateful for this country. This country gave my parents a life, gave my parents work, and a different lifestyle than being in Mexico. Obviously it's a lot tougher to live out there, and to live and to get through life. So, I'm very fortunate to have came to this country, and that's why I was very happy to get that call up.
So you mentioned you were part of the Chivas de Guadalajara youth system, which you entered in 2003.
Hmm.
Um, What were some of the expectations, considering the fact that Chivas is one of the biggest clubs in Liga MX historically by tradition? What were some of the expectations the academy had on their youth prospects in order to make it to the professional level?
At that, when I think I got there at the perfect time. Um, I got there when Hans Westerhoff got there. He's a Dutch
Hmm.
guy who worked at Ajax many years, and they brought him to work with the Fuerzas Básicas in Chivas. And at that point, that's when they started debuting younger players, and they started bringing younger players up to the first team a lot more. And I was playing with the reserves, but the reserves, every other team in the league was playing with 23, 22-year-olds, sometimes 24. And with Chivas, we were playing with 18, 19-year-olds, and I was 16. So I was really young playing with the reserves. Um, but again, it was a it was a great experience. I was teammates with a lot of good players that are now, Chicharito, Omar Esparza, all those guys that won the World Cup with the U17s. Those guys were my teammates. Got to play a lot of reserve games when guys from the first team would be red carded or coming back from injury. So, those were good experiences. We would also play right before the first team in the main stadium. So, sometimes we'd get there, the Clásico, Chivas America, we'd play our game, our second half would be packed already, 70, 80,000 people. So those were good experiences. And it was expectations were always high. Being putting on a Chivas crest represents a lot. You have always win, always go about yourself in the right way, and it was, like I said, it was a great experience.
So Rodrigo, you just told us, right, all the different places that you play, right? MLS, first division, second division in in the US, first second division in Mexico. Uh, what is the hardest and the best part of USL, right? You're playing USL now. You made an All Star team Why are you in Sacramento? A lot of people would say that you deserve the MVP on while you were there in one of those seasons. What is so special or so hard with USL?
Oh wow. I there's there's so much to the game now. You know, the game evolves every year. It gets harder and harder. You see a lot better players now that than when I was with Sacramento, obviously. I think back then in USL we had maybe 14 teams, I want to say. Now we have, what is it, 30 something
Yeah,
teams.
yeah,
So the league, and obviously you see MLS. You know, MLS is growing a lot, so now you have so many players from different countries wanting to come play. You know, and the guys who can't make it into MLS and want a shot, they end up in USL, and they make the league a much more competitive league. And I feel like there's a lot of players in the USL that should be playing MLS. And I also see guys in MLS that I think shouldn't be playing in MLS, but you know, they're there for a reason. I feel like this league has a lot of potential to grow as well. So I read an article talking about maybe USL doing promotion and relegation, which is, to me, brilliant. I think it would make this league even more competitive, even more attractive. Um, so like I said, as the years go by, every time I play it, it just gets better and better.
And what's the
Uh,
biggest challenge of USL? Sorry, Edson. What is the biggest challenge for USL compared to the other leagues?
The physicality, I would say, the physicality. You know, I can't really compare it to MLS. I didn't, you know, when I played MLS, it was a while back, and the league has changed a lot. But coming from Mexico, um, it's just like I said, physicality. Sometimes you don't get, you know, you have a couple technically smart players that read the game a lot faster than everyone else, but then you know you have a lot of players that just depend on their physicality, on their speed, um, on their strength, and in Mexico, you know, you have those players that depend on their technical abilities, who could read the game a lot faster, who think a lot faster, um, who could kill you with one pass, just to give you an example. So it's just a lot different, you know. But like I said, it's a great league. I'm super grateful as well to be in it still, and being one of the older players in the league. I'm sure, you know, I don't take it for granted.
from someone who was in that inaugural Sacramento Republic team, if I'm not mistaken, you all won the championship that year, and I'm correct.
Mhm.
What
Yeah.
made that Sacramento Republic team so special? Like, what made it different from everybody else in the USL at that time?
Oh wow. I think, you know, it started from top to bottom. Warren Smith, who was the owner, and Joe Wagner, co-owner, co-president. You know, they started with an idea, and they went about it in the in the right way, in the perfect way. They got into the city in many ways, interacted with the fans, and that's what, you know, for a while it was soccer city. You know, they had a lot more fans than a lot of MLS teams at that time. So you know, we sold out our first 3 4 games at one of the community colleges. 20,000 fans for a USL game, was I think the record. And you know, the coach they brought in that year, Preki, such an amazing career as a player, and obviously as a coach, he's done fairly well for himself. And now, you know, winning championships as an assistant for Seattle. I think he brought in the right players that year as well. And just having that fan base and the support from a city was unbelievable. And you know, it wasn't the best. It wasn't the way we wanted to start the season, but then we got it together and we started clicking at the right times, and went to the playoffs on a high, and obviously ended up winning the championship that year. So it was very special for the city and for myself, for the team.
Very, very cool. And now you just talk about the coaching staff in Sacramento. You're working with Wilmer Cabrera, also
Hmm.
we could say a legend in our sport.
Yeah.
What is Wilmer Cabrera as a coach? Is that like a more of a father kind of guy? Is he more of a teaching guy, more of that fighting guy in the locker room? What could you tell us that it's not going to put you in a bad situation with him
No,
about him to everybody that's watching us now?
no. He's a coach who's very respectable. Um, those are the type of coaches that I like playing for. It's very, to me, it's like very similar to what I had with Preki in Sacramento. Um, it's either black or white. They tell you how it is. They don't go around it. They don't go, say things behind you. It's just, you're doing something wrong, they'll tell you, and that's the way it should be. Um, and as a coach, obviously, he played in the highest levels. He played for his country for many years. I've had a lot of Colombian teammates throughout my career in Mexico, and they all speak highly of him, and they all know who he is. And so, to play for someone like that, it means a lot to me, because as a player, even no matter how old you are, you always want to learn, and to this point, I've learned a lot from him, and I continue to learn, because I'm not perfect. I'm not, someone that's gonna, um, think I'm better than anyone else. I'm just like anyone else on my team, and there's always room for improvement. So, he's a right coach for this team, and for me as well.
So taking on a little bit more of a tactical question here, Wilmer has used a lot of different formations this season, which talks a lot, and I've mentioned it on the podcast before. The flexibility of this team to adapt as the team's needs vary within the 90 minutes or with different rivals. But of all of the ones that he's used so far, which one do you think like you've adapted to the best for your play style?
Good question. Honestly, um, it's hard to say, because I mean, obviously we've had our bad games, but we've had quite a few good games, and I think we've had different formations with those lineups. So with those games, so there's not one that stands out. I think he's the right guy to ask that question to, because he's the one that studies the game a lot more than us. Um, and he knows a lot more about the players than we do. Um, but what I like is that, whenever we do end up changing the formation, he obviously knows how to train us in order to be able to play it. There's coaches that just say, "Hey, we're gonna play this formation," and then they just send you out there, and you end up playing. But Wilmer does a good job with analyzing and obviously communicating to us the way he wants us to play.
Rodrigo, of course, we are the Striker Texas covers basically the teams in Texas, and of course, we also talk about the U.S. national team and the Mexico national team for obvious reasons. But our focus is in Texas, is in Copa Tejas, right? So, two questions in one for you. First of all, is how important do you think is for your organization, for the team, lifting that trophy at the end of the season, the Copa Tejas? Winning the Copa Tejas is something that you players talk about. Do you guys discuss? Is that something that you're looking to get, or that's just a something that if we get it, we get it. If not, not.
No. Obviously, it's something that we've spoken about. Something that we mention, obviously, especially when we play El Paso, San Antonio, who are our crosstown rival, our rival, sorry. Um, and it's something we obviously take pride in. The main focus for us is making playoffs. Um, but at the same time, we do want to be the best every time we play. If it's any tournament, we're unlucky not to play US Open Cup this year. But if we would be in that, we'd look to win it as well, or get as far as we could. So, this Copa Tejas, we hear about it a lot, and obviously we're trying to win every cup that we could lift is a plus for us. So, obviously with the main focus being USL Cup.
And with the Copa Tejas, you already played all three teams at this point, right? You played San Antonio, you played El Paso, you played Austin. Uh, what do you believe is the strongest one at this point? Is it obvious to say that it's El Paso because of the points that they have, or when you played the other teams or them, did you see anything different from anything special in those teams?
No. It's pretty clear who the best team is right now. It's El Paso. They're in first place for a reason. They've only lost one game for a reason. They're very talented. I feel like it's been pretty close. I think we match up pretty well. That first game they beat us in the first 20 seconds. We gave them a goal basically, and then they came here and we beat them, and now we went to them and we had a very good first half, and kind of fell through the second half. Um, but I feel like we match up with them well, because it's a team that plays. It's a team that isn't going to sit back and just counter on us. It's a team that, like I said, attacks. They like to keep the ball, and I feel like we like to attack as well, and we try to keep the ball as much as we can as well. So we match up pretty well. I have a lot of friends on that team, and they always mention to me, man, you guys are probably the hardest team we played. So to me, that means a lot. It means that we're doing something right as well. And those teams have been together for 3-4 years. We're just coming
Yeah, I
together
was gonna
now,
say
just
that.
a
Yeah.
season. So it's tough, but it's not an excuse. It's not an excuse because we started off really well, and we've had our bad patch these last few games, but I feel like our team is mentally strong, and we have the players and coaching staff to get through this, and I believe, and I'm very confident that we will.
You're talking about right now about the how the season has kind of evolved for this team so far. Uh, what are some of those factors that have come into play from the beginning of the season to this particular moment in time where the team has kind of struggled a little bit to get the wins like they did in the beginning of the season? Well, what has come up with this team with the other with the opponents, and what can the team do as they look forward to the second half of the season to improve?
I feel like teams, study us pretty well. I feel like teams started respecting us a lot more. Um, Teams knew that we like to attack. We play on a fairly big field at home, and we're
Yeah.
playing all these teams with very athletic players up top. You see Colorado, and Colorado Springs is five guys up top that are just fast, lightning fast. So if if you're playing against a team like us, you kind of just sit in, and then you just kind of counter and expect those guys to cause damage up there, and they have, and they've been doing that pretty well. And they did it really well against us. So that's kind of how teams, in my opinion, have done well against us. You watch Austin as well. It's a team that likes to sit in and defend well in a block, and then they just counter. So we just have to be able to fix those things. I think we will. I think, like I said, our coaching staff is works hard on that, and we have obviously people who on this team who are capable of turning things around. I feel like this team is very talented. I feel like we have the right mixture of rookies and younger players with veterans and guys with a lot more experience. So, that's what you need in a locker room, and we're fairly new together, but we also treat each other as family. We feel like we've known each other for a long time, a lot of us, and we get along fairly well. And it hurts us. Trust me, it hurts us to be going through the things that we're going through right now as a team. But like I said, we're all brothers. We're all close together, and I know that these last 12 games we're going to give it our all, and I know it's going to be enough to make a good run.
On a lighter note, you have now as your teammate a player that was wreaking havoc in Liga MX a couple of years ago with Jose Saturnino Cardoso, with Cinia, in Toluca, a player that I grew up watching on TV, like I said, wreaking havoc in Liga MX. Now you have him as a teammate. What was your first response when you found out that Vicente Sanchez was going to be your teammate, and how is he as a teammate and assistant coach?
I told him I was in diapers when I was watching him. No, that was a joke, but I did
A
tell
good
him
joke.
that,
It was a good one.
I did tell him that, but no, honestly, I grew up watching Mexican soccer. I don't remember watching any other league. I honestly didn't know much about the Barcelonas, the Real Madrids, PSGs, Manchester United. I mean, I knew who they were, but I wasn't really a big fan. I'm not gonna lie. I was always a big fan of watching Mexican soccer. Every Sunday, that's all I would watch. And I remember Toluca every Sunday at 12 o'clock in the heat with the team they had. They would just kill everyone, and it was so much fun to watch. At least 2-3 goals in that game for sure. So I remember watching them since I was little, and all the championships they won, all the titles they had. Cardoso, all the scoring titles, and Vicente obviously being the main assist for him. And now having him as a teammate is truly an honor for me. I spent 6 months in Toluca, and the fans still wish they had those guys back. We were in third
Hasta la
place in
fecha.
Toluca. Yeah, we would be in third place in Toluca. Our leading scorer would be like the second in the table for the whole league, and they would still be pissed off at us. They wanted more because they were so used to they were so used to these guys winning it all, killing every team, and being in first place, and Cardoso having 10 more goals than the second leading scorer. So they set a high standard for that team, and so many championships. So now having him as a teammate is truly an honor, and him as a person is just someone that you don't really think he's going to be that way, but he's so humble, he's so nice, he's such a hard worker, so positive for the group, for the young guys, and I'm privileged to share a locker room with him.
Very cool. We're over 30 minutes at this point. Edson, before we go, do you have a last question?
Yeah, definitely. I think the last question for me is just pretty much taking it back towards the off season. I remember the USL official account tweeting out a GIF of like, "Oh, Rodrigo's not going to be coming back for Sacramento. Where do you think he's going to go?" And I remember tweeting out a GIF where it landed on RGVFC, and I remember you responded to me to that tweet. And then, so you fast forward, and it turns out that you did sign for RGVFC Toros. But I'm kind of curious, like, what attracted you to the club? Did you know anything about the region? As you were looking for, your next chapter in your career.
I'm gonna be quite honest. When USL finished, I was really surprised that I wasn't going back to Sacramento. Truly, really, really surprised. And I don't want to get into that conversation, but um, for whatever reason, I had two other options come up right away, and they weren't enough for me to move my family to these cities and for the amount of the contract, right? So I stayed positive throughout the off season, and I truly felt like more would come up, and nothing else was coming up. Like not a lot, was being done. There's a couple teams that wanted to see me in preseason because of my age, I would assume. And then, I spoke to Coach Wilmer, and we he didn't know if he had the room for me or the roster spot for me. So then I came in as a trialist, and that's how I signed. To be honest, I remember I had an interview with Nicholas from USL, and this was like midway, maybe like in January. And he was like, you know what, I think RGV would be a good fit for you. And he actually did a whole article on it, um, saying that RGV would be a perfect fit, that they didn't have a coach, but that they were looking to turn things around and invest a little more money on their team now that they weren't going to be involved with Dynamo. So that's when I reached out to Wilmer, and a lot of conversations happened with him and Jerson, and then towards the end it didn't seem like it was going to happen, and then I ended up coming on a trial, and luckily I was able to impress the coaching staff and earn myself a contract.
Very cool. Rodrigo, thank you very much for putting some of your time to us today, especially after a training session. People don't know, but it's late at night, so we should let you go to get some rest. Rest is an important piece of an athlete overall. So you're listening here to the Striker Tejas extra time. Edson, thank you very much, and remember, support local soccer. Subscribe to the Striker Texas.